Welcome to the final episode of Hyper Hoops, I guess the first season. And we're going to start off this episode with what are everyone's thoughts on this NBA season? And if you could just give this season a letter grade.
All right, I'll go first. I'm gonna give the season a B minus. I think it passes. I mean, the fact that they're able to play a season that looked like regular basketball during COVID is kind of neat, but because of COVID, I found it hard to take the whole thing seriously. It was just weird. It wasn't as weird as the bubble the year before, but it's not basketball's fault. It's not the NBA's fault. All sports kind of suffered from this. It's like, why am I watching this? Why are people, in the stadium while people are dying? It was just hard to get the right mindset. And I think it's reflected in the ratings. The ratings were pretty down this year, but the actual quality of play was okay. And I felt like the players cared and they were playing hard. So I'll give it a B minus.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Dave. It's just that it was really hard to take basketball seriously. And take professional sports seriously when there's so much going on around the world, and especially when some stadiums were opening up to fans and some were not. It was just very inconsistent. There was no, So it really depended on where you were as a fan. The whole experience was very different, right? So here, as in Toronto, like we did not have our team back, and they were playing somewhere else, and they called themselves the Tampa Bay Raptors, and it's kind of a little ridiculous, So I couldn't myself. I'm talking about myself here. I couldn't get into really watching a lot of games or the playoffs at all. Like it was just. I couldn't get into it. It was they should have. I don't know. It was very hard to take basketball seriously, and like Dave said, they were playing hard and everything. I watched like the highlights and all, but yeah, it was just odd to watch. I was gonna get. I need a letter grade here. I don't know. They were
You're
still
the teacher.
playing, that's the thing. Like, what are the requirements here? You can't. I don't even know what to base this on.
Base it on satisfaction or something, maybe.
Satisfaction. Me personally, oh man, I would give it a C plus.
Remember,
maybe.
No NBA season gets left behind. We can't replay the year.
Oh God, could you imagine if we had to replay this here? There'd be so many more injuries.
Yeah, Stefan, thank you. Yeah, that's another thing, right? Like they put like these games, all bunched them up so close together. Like the season started before the season even ended. But the last season ended, not before, but there's not a big break in between. Sure. So it was just really odd or it was just very dangerous for players to get back right into the grind of things and then having back-to-back games and having such a close schedule. It really, like, there was a lot of injuries, and I would say that put the players at risk. The whole bubble thing didn't really work out, where the players were getting sick of COVID, so like that wasn't 100% guarantee. I'm gonna say a C plus. I'm being generous here. I would have given D, but whatever. C plus here.
I think I'm with you at like the C plus C layer level, and it's mainly this was a problem they had in every single league, right? They had it in soccer. The only league they didn't really have it was football, where they had one game a week like they normally do, so it wasn't the giant clusterfuck of games right into each other. But with that exception, I mean, they still didn't even have preseason properly, so there was even more injuries there too. Every single league that had all the stuff more compact was probably seeing more injuries. Soccer did, NBA did, so it's kind of hard to take the season, like 100%, like a real season, because it just seems like there were so many more injuries dictating what happened, as opposed to just the play. And I would argue that's probably the reason the Bucks won. They had the least troubles, even though Giannis had some, some small nicks and tears here and there, but like they didn't get as messed up by it.
Yeah, I would just say for me, injuries is the key word for this whole season. I think if anybody said, especially the Suns are going to be in the NBA Finals at the beginning of last season, would be in the finals. I don't think anyone would have taken that. The Bucks, I mean, you could argue they're probably at least going to make the Eastern Conference Finals, but ultimately they'd probably fall to the Nets, assuming they were full powered and whatnot. So I think in terms of satisfaction, I don't think any NBA fan will really be satisfied because maybe we didn't get to see the best games possible because the best players weren't necessarily available. So maybe, yeah, I'd give that a C. But in terms of storyline, how does everyone feel about the Bucks winning? I know, Stefan, you mentioned that they were kind of lucky in the sense they dodged a lot of injuries and as well benefited from injuries to the other team. But in terms of storyline, the Bucks, Giannis says, I'm staying here. Screw your super teams. I'm staying in this small market. I'm going to make it work. And small market wins. Super team doesn't win. What are your thoughts?
I'm always happy when the Clippers fail. So from that aspect, I'm loving it with their whole super team. But yeah, no, it's like I don't have any problems with who won. It's just the injuries caused who won to win more likely than because if you had Brooklyn as a full team, and in fairness, the fact that they got hurt kind of made it more interesting.
It did. And I think they benefited even on the West side. It had the Suns not come out of the West. Maybe the Lakers or the Clippers could have done more against the Bucks. Anyway, Jay.
Yeah, I really like that storyline of that team that just keeps getting into the playoffs, fighting hard, and is really good, and then ends up failing, and then they just continue grinding it every single season, and then they finally do get to that point. Like the Raptors did the same thing, right? Like every single season was a failure, and then until they made it to the final, and then they had their big break right there. And the Bucks, the same way, they won that championship, and it's about continuity. You want to see that in the NBA. You don't want to keep seeing all these players move around, all these superstars move around. And I'm really happy that the Bucks have made it this far, have done all of this with one star on their team. It's impressive. It's a good storyline. It's a feel good story for a franchise for sure. So I enjoyed that part. Yeah.
The Bucks are a little bit different from the Raptors though, because they didn't have to get like Kawhi for that final push, right? Them getting Kawhi is a little bit more like the Suns getting Chris Paul to be that last piece that they needed. But I agree, like it isn't so much that the Bucks winning was a good story. The good story was that the Nets lost, right? that was really what this was about. And I'm gonna be devil's advocate. I don't think the Nets losing is a function necessarily of just that their injuries were caused by this compressed schedule. That team, those guys are all old in a way and injury prone, even before this year. Like Durant has had problems now for a few years. So you're paying big money to a guy who is one of the best players ever, but he's had repeated foot surgeries and Achilles. These aren't things guys recover that easily from. So you can pretty much pencil in he's going to miss some time at his age, right? Harden shows up for the season overweight. That's his fault, right? So he gets hurt. I don't know. Like I don't know if we should blame the schedule. I just don't think that team is made to play a full schedule together. Period. And I don't know if I would pencil them in to be favorites next year necessarily. Like they're going to be another year older and more injury prone, even more, right? That's my 2 cents about them. The Lakers is the other team that everyone had penciled in as a championship team, and they did get kind of run over by injuries. At the same time, LeBron is like super old now. You know, he came into the league the same time as Melo and Wade, who are all kind of washed or gone at this point. So expecting him to carry a team through the season again, this is asking a lot. So when guys like that go down, and young teams like Giannis and the Suns even can bounce back from these little injuries faster, I think that's just the reflection of basketball being like a young man's game. It's not an old man's game, right? But for fans, we recognize these old names, so we keep clinging to them. We look at Brooklyn, the names look awesome, right? It's a scary looking franchise, but I think if you look at it really closely, this is an old team.
Yeah, but with old teams, there's ways to kind of go around it. You know, you sit them a few more games in the regular season. You do whatever you do, right? Regular season doesn't matter. Let's be honest. They just need to be top 8, and then they have a chance to go to the finals.
It's top 10 now,
right?
Stefan.
Oh God, top 10. Yes. Okay, it's a joke now. You need to be better than 5 teams. Good luck.
Mm-hmm. And just a quick yes or no answer for this. So where does this championship, in your mind, make Giannis the best player in the world?
No.
No, not yet.
Yeah, I'm also going to go no.
I'm going to go no too, but do you think this pushes him? So in my mind, it's usually LeBron and then KD. Does it push him over KD?
Does best player in the world mean as of today, he's the best player today? Or does it mean like his career is the best career?
No, I wouldn't say career.
So it's the heavyweight belt of who's the champion, basketball player of the moment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The way I see it is he hasn't dethroned anyone, so his competition. I don't think he didn't face LeBron. He didn't face KD. So he hasn't dethroned anyone. So
okay.
In that sense, I would say no.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I think I'm also no, but just by age alone, I don't think. Like, I think LeBron might be, or is definitely a lot smarter than he was when he got in the league and knows how to play the game a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But pure athleticism and pure skill, I don't know if he's the best right now. I think career, he is definitely the best player currently playing. Like, I don't think you can find an argument against that. But like going into next season, I don't think you could look at him as the best player in the league.
He's very close, though.
He is. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, one extra year on his body, one extra injury on his, or a bunch of extra injuries on his body. It's going to take a toll, right?
But are we convinced that LeBron is the best player in the league, of the basketball player of the moment?
I just think, like you guys said, no one's dethroned him yet. The only reason he's not in conversations is because he's injured, right? That's why he's that's why he lost the playoffs. Essentially, he was injured. His running mate Anthony Davis wasn't 100%, right? So I don't think anybody's taken the crown from him yet.
Well, even KD, right? Like, he was
mm-hmm.
He carried his team, but if you were to match him up with Giannis, I'm not sure Giannis would have the upper hand.
Yeah, for sure. And on that KD note, our next topic is talking about the KD-led U.S. men's basketball team. So where do you see these bunch of, I'm not going to say bad players because KD is a good player, but I think this is an interesting list. I'll just read it off just so we have Bam, Booker, Durant, Grant, Draymond Green, Holiday, Keldon Johnson, Levine, Lillard, McGee, Middleton, and Jason Tatum. So where do you see those guys going?
I think they're going to win the gold medal. I'm going to take the safe pick.
Okay, Dave's taking history and just saying, I take the safe bet. We'll say they'll pull it together in the end. But even going forward towards the Olympics, I know they lost their 2 warm-up games, or 2 of the 3 warm-up games.
Yeah.
And they just lost, either it was today or yesterday, to France.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the international game is very different, especially when NBA players are coming in to represent the U.S.
Mm.
These players that are coming together, they haven't played before, whereas all these other countries, they have players that have played before.
Yes.
They have a culture, they have their defensive schemes and everything, and they know plays by heart. Like there's not a lot to learn, right? I mean, that's why Canada went down. It's not because they are bad players. There are some great players on Canada, but it's just they couldn't come together, and teams countries that had less talented players actually beat them. That's just the way basketball is, right? The team wins. The better team that can come together as a team wins, not the individual players. And I'm not sure about this U.S. team if they can actually beat some of these other countries that have quality players and that have been playing together since they were little kids. Really, it's going to be really hard to do with the team that they have right now. Silver. I'm going to say silver for the U.S. Bronze, the worst, but yeah,
They're getting a medal. Okay.
I'm not sure about that gold.
All right.
I was just going to say bronze from the beginning, so we got every single place on the podium down.
Well, to be fair, I picked 2 medals there.
All right, Spencer, what's your pick?
I find it hard to believe to say that they wouldn't win a medal, even if they're playing badly. They're probably going to get a game or 2 where they're just carried by one player, despite the fact I know and what Jay's points were right on the money when he said the fact that these teams they're playing against have played together basically since they started playing basketball. They've been teammates. They know each other like the back of their hand. But there's a lot of scoring power on that U.S. team. I'm just thinking Durant and Lillard, and I could just see one of them is going to go off one game, and it's just probably going to win them a game. So gets them to the knockout stage, and yeah, they may be squeaking at that bronze.
No, they will not get bronze. If they don't get to the championship game, they'll just blow the last game because they won't care.
Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Any team I think I've said this before in the past. Anything but gold for the U.S. in basketball is kind of a loss, is it not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like Canada and the gold, right?
In hockey, yes, it's gold or nothing, right? So, all right, our final topic, and it is: what are your predictions for next year? So let's just for fun, what 2 teams do you see in the finals? And that's going to be really tough. Obviously, the landscape's going to change a lot, I think, in this off season. And that's going to really dictate what happens, especially in the West. But yeah, what are some things you think are going to happen? 2 teams in the final, and maybe one thing you'd like to see happen.
I think LeBron's era is coming to an end.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Lakers are gonna fall off the map.
I think this thing where he's the best player in the world, he can keep this title this summer while nothing's actually happening.
Okay.
It's coming to a close.
So are you saying early playoff exit kind of thing, or do you see it even higher than that, Dave?
I think they can make the playoffs with the team that they have. They'd probably be able to attract some bargain old guys to join, but I don't think they're going to be in the class of the top teams anymore.
Like I said, I think the Lakers are gonna fall off the map, and if they even get into the playoffs, they're really gonna struggle the first round. In terms of who I expect to do really well, I know this might be an unknown with Philadelphia with the Ben Simmons situation, but I think they still, whatever trade they make, they're gonna come out, even if they I don't know, get some assets or whatever. I think they have a good chance of getting to the finals next year. minus Simmons. I want to say Suns, but
Oh
that's
my God! Is it
I kind of
again?
but that seems a little maybe I'm just thinking too much about what they did in the playoffs.
I definitely think so.
Really that much, but yeah, I don't know the West. That's I don't know. I want to say Utah or something like that. Just
right.
surprise everyone.
If the Mavs can get out from under the weight of Porzingis' contract, I think the sky's the limit. I'm just gonna throw it at the wall and see if it sticks.
All right, so Stefan, you heard it here, folks. Stefan, if they get out, if they unload Porzingis somewhere, the Mavs
Can't do much worse than what you did with Porzingis.
For sure. I think that would be a big weight lifted off their shoulders.
That's $35 million off their cap next year. I mean, you could probably get a decent player for $35 million, or Porzingis.
Thoughts on finals potentially? Just throw it out there.
Dallas, Brooklyn. Honestly, I'm
You're
just
supposed
gonna
to say the
throw
Knicks,
it.
Stefan. God damn it.
Oh man, that'd be fun if the Knicks end up beating Brooklyn. Yeah, that'd be great. Sure. Knicks and Dallas. Let's go with it.
There we go. Yeah, I'm definitely would just. I still think the Nets are gonna. They'll have a little bit more experience with each other next year, and I think that's just they might steamroll the East. What we thought was gonna happen this year is probably gonna happen next year. I just think there's just too much firepower there, and what super team in recent history has not at least gone a championship, right? So,
Oh God. Sorry, I feel really sick today.
So many super teams haven't won the championship.
three people? No.
The Gary Payton, Kobe Bryant, Karl Malone team.
They were way older, Dave. Come on.
This team is not that young, man.
It's not that old though.
It's not that old either, though.
You got to remember, at the start of the season, we thought just having KD and Kyrie was going to win the East and possibly the league. They got Harden too. If Harden shows up to camp, at an average weight, he should be fine.
Only with 50% of the weight he put on previously. It should be way better.
With half of the chins he had last year.
Exactly. And out of the West, I'm going to just do some wishful thinking. We'll say the Nuggets. As a kind of our final thing, do you think Chris Paul's championship window has closed? Personally speaking, I think this is as good of a chance as he's going to ever get. The Bucks, they're a good team, but they're up to 2-0.
Well, I think you can always go back to a veterans minimum and sign for a super team.
Just tag along.
I don't think any player's window to win a championship is ever over. It's just, do they want to choose to, join that super team and get paid?
They have a really young team. They will probably be decent next year, right? And if he doesn't fall off a cliff in the offseason, and his game doesn't require a lot of quickness, maybe he has one more chance.
Okay, one more chance, Dave. Dave says one more chance. Jay says multiple chances because he could sign anywhere.
Yeah, it's not like he has to carry a team, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't count when you nobody remembers that Robert Parrish won a championship with the Bulls at the end. Those don't count.
Stefan?
He'll probably end up winning one. Just won't be next year.
Well, do you think we'll be with the Suns? Or is it going to be the Ajaysian?
It's going to be a Jason move. He's gonna sign somewhere. He's going to attempt to pull a Nash and probably, succeed. I'm saying he's going to the Lakers.
Well, I don't know if you guys heard, as Raptors fans, this is a huge speculation, but it was Lowry and DeRozan going to the Lakers. I don't know. That would be interesting.
From the Lakers standpoint, I really like getting Lowry. I don't see what DeRozan has to offer. If you already have, LeBron handling the ball as much as he would need to. having DeRozan as a jump and shoot guy, I don't know. I don't see it.
It's just weird where we fit in the offense in terms of obviously maybe AD's number one, maybe. I'm just assuming LeBron's going to take slightly less, and then LeBron number two, and then is it Lowry 3, DeRozan 3? You know what I mean? Like,
I'd rather have Lowry shooting, and I'd rather have the ball in Lowry's hand than DeRozan's. As much as I'd rather have the ball in, LeBron's hands than AD's. He's going to facilitate, like both of them are going to facilitate the offense a lot better. And DeRozan as an off ball, not
he's
like
a
a jump shooter. I don't see him as a jump shooter.
These guys are all too old. They need some young guys.
Dave, you're such a hater. It's unbelievable. you're supposed to be like the old school guy. You're like, oh my god, these guys are so old. It's like
the grizzled veterans.
Exactly.
Thank you,
Basketball
Stefan.
works. That's my whole point. You need young guys to grow a championship team.
Well, for sure, a youthful core, but I think you need that veteran experience as well, which I think, case in point, which we kind of saw with the Suns with Chris Paul. That was literally the missing piece they needed to
right.
get
It's
over
a
their
balance,
hump.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a balance, but their team is mostly young guys with one old leader,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the Lakers thing is that you're saying you're trying to plug in all their role players with these guys who this would be a really good team in 2016.
Yeah, but like it's not like last year they didn't go old. They got Marcus Sol as their center. And
I don't think.
Like I don't like they're going to go old anyway.
That's the problem.
Right?
These guys, their ceiling is just there. If you get young guys and hit on them, you don't know their ceiling, right? That's where the value is when you're building a team.
Yeah, there's like the Raptors. There's no championship without Van Vliet. There's no championship without
OG.
OG. Yeah, well, actually he was injured, so it didn't really.
Well,
Pascal is a
yeah,
number
Pascal,
two, right?
No. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you meant like going forward, just
Because they can take you way past your projections if they improve their game, right? And we just can't see that going.
Well,
that's a good.
If they don't have the pressure of having to be a number one, right? Like Pascal without the pressure of having to be a number one was a really good player. Pascal with the pressure of having to be number one, not as good. Will he learn into it? Maybe.
He just might be a number 2 or a number 3, right? I mean,
But there's nothing
no
wrong
shame
with
in
that, right?
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know your role, and that's it.
But the thing with DeRozan and Lowry going to the Lakers, I'm not sure this is even going to work out with the whole, like they both of these players are going to have to take a serious pay cut, or the Lakers are going to be
trade, probably.
way over the luxury tax. Sign and trade.
Yeah, they would have to if they want to make money.
What are they willing to give up to get this? Right?
They don't have much to give, in my opinion.
Exactly.
I don't think their pieces are. Like I said, this is going to go back to something we talked about long ago. The teams that are kicking themselves when the Raptors are asking a lot for Kyle Lowry in the trades. Fucking just give it. Would have changed a lot in this playoffs. That's all I got to say.
That's the thing, though, right? Like Lowry is the type of player who would be worth it for a team that was like on the cusp.
Oh yes,
and would provide leadership, all the intangibles, all the diving for loose balls, all that other shit that he does. I can't say the same thing about DeRozan. And I know I've been a DeRozan hater like since he's been in Toronto, but I don't see it. I see it in the regular season. I don't see him as a playoff player.
So what I'm hearing is Dave hates him because he's old, and you hate him because he's DeRozan.
Exactly.
I don't hate DeRozan. I just
You hate old players, Dave.
all old
bad team
players.
construction.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. All right. On that note of hating DeRozan and whatnot, guys, thank you so much for coming along this season. It's been really fun talking to you guys about basketball and sharing all these laughs. I guess we'll see where it goes next season. Hopefully, we'll come back with bigger and better ideas. And yeah, I look forward to it, guys. Thanks again. Take care of yourselves, and I guess we'll see you next season.
Yeah.